Train to Paris, A Tale of Heroism. Prologue. The Thaleys train glided smoothly along the tracks, cutting through the picturesque European countryside as it travelled from Amsterdam to Paris. The hum of the train's engine provided a steady, soothing background noise, blending with the soft murmur of passengers chatting and the occasional rustle of newspapers. The interior of the train was modern and sleek, with plush seats upholstered in deep burgundy and wide windows that offered stunning views of the passing landscape. The soft scent of freshly brewed coffee wafted through the air, mingling with the faint aroma of pastries from the café car. Sunlight streamed through the windows, casting warm, golden hues over the faces of the travellers. Some were dozing, their heads resting against the windows, while others were engrossed in books or tapping away on their laptops. A group of tourists huddled over a map, planning their adventures in the City of Light, their excited whispers adding to the lively yet tranquil atmosphere. The sense of anticipation and leisure was palpable, a shared feeling of journeying towards something beautiful and unknown. In the midst of this serene setting, Ayoub El Khazzani sat quietly, his demeanour unassuming. To the casual observer, he was just another passenger, perhaps a businessman on his way to a meeting or a tourist headed to explore Paris. Yet, beneath this calm exterior, a storm of emotions brewed. Khazzani's journey had begun long before he boarded this train. Born in Morocco, he had moved to Europe in search of a better life. However, his path had taken a dark turn as he became increasingly radicalized, consumed by a sense of injustice and driven by a desire to make a statement, however misguided. Khazzani had spent months preparing for this moment. His motivations were complex, a tangled web of personal grievances and ideological indoctrination. He believed he was acting on a divine mandate, a misguided interpretation of his faith that justified violence as a means to an end. Yet there were moments of doubt, fleeting thoughts about the innocent lives that would be disrupted, the irreversible damage that would be caused. But each time he pushed those thoughts aside, focusing instead on the sense of purpose and destiny that had been instilled in him. As the train hurtled towards Paris, Khazzani made his way to the restroom. His heart pounded in his chest, a mix of adrenaline and fear coursing through his veins. He locked the door behind him and began to prepare, methodically checking his weapons. Each movement was deliberate, practiced, as if he were performing a ritual. He took a deep breath, trying to steady his nerves, to silence the cacophony of doubts and fears that threatened to overwhelm him. Meanwhile, in another car, 3 American friends, Anthony Sadler, Spencer Stone, and Alex Scarlatos, were enjoying their European vacation. Their journey had been filled with laughter and camaraderie, a much-needed break from their everyday lives. They had visited historic sites, tasted local delicacies, and shared countless stories. Now, as they sat together, their conversation turned to their plans for Paris. The city represented a dream, a culmination of their trip, and they were eager to experience its magic. Anthony, with his easygoing nature, was the heart of the group, always ready with a joke or a smile. Spencer, the Air Force serviceman, exuded a quiet confidence, his disciplined demeanour a testament to his military training. Alec, recently returned from a deployment with the Oregon Army National Guard, was the steady presence, his thoughtful gaze taking in everything around him. They were unaware of the danger that lurked just a few cars away, unaware that their lives were about to be irrevocably changed. Yet there was a sense of something unspoken between them, an almost palpable tension. Perhaps it was the weight of their individual struggles, the challenges they had faced and overcome together. They had always been there for each other, through thick and thin, their bond forged in the fires of friendship and shared experiences. Little did they know that this bond would soon be tested in ways they could never have imagined. As the train sped towards its destination, the stage was set for a confrontation that would capture the world's attention. The ordinary moments of the journey, the quiet conversations, the shared laughter and the silent preparations, all converged towards a singular, explosive event. The heroes were unaware of their impending trial, and Khazzani was about to embark on a path of destruction that would forever alter the course of many lives. The prologue of this tale of heroism was complete, setting the stage for an extraordinary story of courage, friendship, and the unyielding human spirit. Part 1. The Ordinary Heroes. Chapter 1. Anthony, Spencer, and Alec. The story of Anthony Sadler, Spencer Stone, and Alec Skarlatos begins long before their fateful journey on the Thaleys train. Their friendship was forged in the vibrant and sunny streets of Sacramento, California. As boys, they spent countless hours together, their bond solidified through shared adventures and childhood mischief. Anthony Sadler was the glue that held the trio together. With his easygoing nature and infectious laughter, Anthony had a way of lightening even the heaviest moments. He was the son of a Baptist minister, and his upbringing was steeped in values of compassion and community service. Despite his carefree exterior, Anthony harbored a deep sense of responsibility and a desire to make a difference in the world. His aspirations were big. He dreamed of traveling, experiencing new cultures, and perhaps one day making a mark as a motivational speaker. Spencer Stone was the embodiment of discipline and determination. Raised in a military family, Spencer's childhood was marked by structure and expectations. From a young age, he was drawn to the idea of service, inspired by his father's stories of military life. Spencer's path led him to the Air Force, where he thrived in the regimented environment. But beneath his stoic exterior, Spencer struggled with the pressure to always perform, to meet the high standards he set for himself. His journey was one of balancing ambition with inner peace, seeking a sense of purpose beyond his career. Alec Skarlatos, the quiet strength of the group, had a steadiness that grounded his friends. Alec's childhood was not without its challenges. His parents' divorce and subsequent relocation tested his resilience. He found solace in the stability of the Oregon Army National Guard, where he discovered a sense of belonging and duty. Alec's deployment to Afghanistan had changed him, deepening his perspective on life and service. His return home was bittersweet, marked by a struggle to reintegrate into civilian life while carrying the weight of his experiences overseas. Their individual paths, though divergent, were always intertwined by their shared history and unshakable bond. As they navigated the complexities of adulthood, they remained each other's confidants and support system. Their friendship was a constant, a source of strength and joy. The idea of a European vacation was Anthony's brainchild. He had always been the dreamer, the one with grand plans and a zest for life. Spencer, craving a break from his rigorous training, and Alec, needing a reprieve from the haunting memories of war, readily agreed. The trip was meant to be an adventure, a chance to reconnect and create new memories. They planned their itinerary with a mix of historical sites, culinary experiences, and moments of sheer spontaneity. Europe, with its rich tapestry of cultures and histories, beckoned them with the promise of discovery and escapade. As the date of their departure approached, the anticipation grew. They packed their bags with a mix of essentials and indulgences, ready to embrace the unknown. Each carried with them personal struggles, Anthony with his quest for purpose, Spencer with his relentless drive, and Alec with his search for normalcy. Yet there was a shared excitement, a collective hope that this journey would be more than just a vacation. It would be a pivotal chapter in their lives. Chapter 2. The journey begins. The day of their departure from Amsterdam was filled with a palpable sense of excitement. The city had been their first stop, a whirlwind of canals, bicycles, and vibrant neighborhoods. They had marveled at the art in the Van Gogh Museum, cycled through the narrow streets, and indulged in Dutch delicacies. But now the allure of Paris called to them, promising new adventures and unforgettable experiences. As they boarded the Thaleys train, the atmosphere was carefree and light-hearted. The train's sleek design and comfortable seating provided a perfect setting for their journey. The trio settled into their seats, their laughter and banter drawing smiles from nearby passengers. Anthony, ever the social butterfly, struck up a conversation with a French couple, practicing his rudimentary French with animated gestures. Spencer leaned back, his eyes scanning the passing scenery, while Alec pulled out a travel guide, reading aloud interesting facts about Paris. Their interactions were a blend of teasing and genuine camaraderie. They reminisced about old times, their conversations flowing effortlessly from one topic to another. Anthony shared his excitement about visiting the Louvre, eager to see the masterpieces he had only read about. Spencer, more inclined towards history, looked forward to walking the grounds of Versailles. Alec, always the pragmatist, joked about keeping track of their budget, while secretly planning to surprise his friends with tickets to a Parisian cabaret. The carefree atmosphere on the train was infectious. Passengers around them relaxed into the journey, their own anticipation mingling with the trio's enthusiasm. The rhythmic clatter of the train on the tracks was a soothing backdrop, lulling some into gentle naps while others engaged in quiet conversations. The vast green countryside rolled by outside the windows, a serene and ever-changing landscape that added to the sense of adventure. As the train sped towards Paris, the friends' excitement grew. They mapped out their first day in the city, debating whether to start with the Eiffel Tower or a leisurely stroll along the Seine. The carefree atmosphere was punctuated with moments of shared silence, each lost in their own thoughts, contemplating the adventures that awaited them. Unbeknownst to them, fate had other plans. Their journey, which had begun with such promise and joy, was on the brink of an unexpected and harrowing turn. The carefree moments, the laughter and the camaraderie were the calm before the storm, the prologue to a story of heroism and courage that would soon unfold. As the Thaleys train hurtled towards its destination, the lives of Anthony, Spencer, and Alec were about to intersect with destiny in the most dramatic of ways. Part 2. The Attack. Chapter 3. The First Shot. Ayoub El Khazzani walked through the narrow aisle of the Thaleys train, the steady hum of the engine barely registering in his mind. He kept his eyes downcast, avoiding any lingering gazes from the passengers. His heart raced with a mixture of fear and determination. As he approached the restroom, he glanced around one last time, his hand trembling slightly as he reached for the door handle. Inside the cramped restroom, Khazzani locked the door behind him and took a deep breath. The walls seemed to close in on him as he methodically began his preparations. He removed the AK-47 assault rifle from his bag, the cold metal feeling both familiar and foreign in his hands. He checked the magazine, ensuring it was fully loaded, and then went through the same routine with the Luger pistol and the box cutter. Each click and snap of the weapons heightened his sense of urgency. Khazzani's mind was a whirlpool of thoughts and emotions. He remembered the propaganda videos, the fiery speeches that had ignited a fervor within him. The promises of glory and righteousness had driven him to this point, yet beneath it all lay a kernel of doubt. Was this truly the path to salvation? His thoughts drifted to his family, to the life he had left behind. He pushed these thoughts away, focusing instead on the mission, the cause that had consumed him. This was his moment, his act of defiance against a world he believed had wronged him and his people. With one last deep breath, Khazzani unlocked the restroom door and stepped out, weapons concealed beneath his jacket. As he moved towards his intended target, his mind was a blur of adrenaline and steely resolve. Mark Mughalian, a professor and musician from Virginia, was sitting a few rows away, engrossed in a book. He had been enjoying a peaceful journey, looking forward to reuniting with his wife in Paris. Out of the corner of his eye he noticed a man moving strangely, his demeanor stiff and unnatural. Instinctively, Mark's senses heightened. He watched as the man emerged from the restroom, a flash of metal catching his eye. His heart skipped a beat as realization dawned. This man was armed. Time seemed to slow as Mark rose from his seat. He saw the man raise the AK-47, the barrel glinting ominously in the overhead lights. Without thinking, Mark lunged forward, his hands reaching for the weapon. "No!" he shouted, his voice a mixture of fear and determination. In the ensuing struggle, Mark's mind raced. He thought of his wife, their life together, and the future that seemed to hang in the balance. He knew he had to act to prevent a catastrophe. As he grappled with Khazzani, he felt a searing pain in his neck. A bullet had pierced his flesh. The pain was intense, but the adrenaline kept him moving, fighting with every ounce of strength he had left. The gunshot shattered the calm of the train, plunging it into chaos. Passengers screamed and ducked for cover, their faces masks of terror and confusion. The peaceful journey was abruptly transformed into a nightmare. The air was thick with the acrid smell of gunpowder and the metallic tang of blood. Mark collapsed to the floor, his vision blurring as he clung to consciousness. He could feel the warm, sticky blood seeping from his wound, pooling around him. The train car erupted into pandemonium. Some passengers cried out for help, while others huddled in their seats, paralyzed by fear. The once harmonious hum of the train was now drowned out by the sounds of panic shouts, sobs, and the ominous click of Khazzani reloading his weapon. In those chaotic moments, everything seemed surreal, as if the world had tilted on its axis. The orderly rows of seats became barriers and hiding places. The train itself, a steel serpent hurtling towards an uncertain fate. The peaceful journey from Amsterdam to Paris had been shattered. replaced by a desperate struggle for survival. And amidst the chaos, the true test of courage and heroism was about to begin. Chapter 4. Call to Action. The sound of the gunshot ripped through the train car, jolting Anthony Sadler, Spencer Stone, and Alex Scarlatos out of their relaxed conversations. For a split second, they exchanged looks of shock and confusion, their minds struggling to process the sudden violence. The cozy, carefree atmosphere they had been enjoying was replaced by a chilling sense of urgency. Spencer's military training kicked in immediately. He recognized the sound of an assault rifle, and his instincts screamed at him to act. "Gunfire!" he shouted, his voice cutting through the panicked cries of the passengers. His heart pounded in his chest, the rush of adrenaline sharpening his senses. Every second counted, and he knew they had to move fast. Anthony's mind raced. He felt a surge of fear, but alongside it, a deep resolve. These were his friends, his brothers, and he couldn't let anything happen to them. He saw the determination in Spencer's eyes and knew they were all thinking the same thing. They had to stop the attacker. Alex, still processing the chaos, felt a familiar rush of adrenaline. Memories of Afghanistan flashed through his mind, but this was different. This was a civilian train filled with innocent people. The stakes were higher, the danger more immediate. He glanced at Spencer and Anthony, their expressions mirroring his own resolve. They had no weapons, no backup, just their wits and each other. "Let's go," Spencer shouted, and without hesitation he sprinted down the aisle. The distance to the source of the gunfire felt both impossibly long and terrifyingly short. His muscles burned with each step, his focus narrowing to the task at hand. He could see the attacker ahead, the rifle raised, ready to unleash more terror. Time seemed to slow as Spencer closed the distance. The aisle felt like a tunnel, the walls of the train blurring around him. His senses were heightened, every sound and movement amplified. The shouts of terrified passengers, the clatter of overturned luggage, and the metallic click of the attacker's weapon, reloading, all melded into a cacophony of chaos. Spencer reached the gunman, his training taking over. He threw himself at Khazzani, tackling him with all his strength. The impact was brutal, the two men crashing into the seats and the floor. Spencer's mind was a whirlwind of focus and fear, his body moving on instinct. He felt the cold metal of the rifle against his skin, the struggle for control beginning. Anthony and Alec were right behind him. Anthony's heart pounded in his chest as he watched Spencer engage the attacker. There was no time for fear, only action. He leapt into the fray, grabbing at Khazzani's arms, trying to wrest the rifle from his grip. The struggle was fierce, the gunman thrashing wildly, determined to complete his mission. Alec's military training surged to the forefront. He joined the melee, his hands finding purchase on the rifle. Together, they fought to disarm the attacker, their combined strength and resolve turning the tide. Khazzani's eyes were wild with rage and desperation, but the three friends were relentless. The intensity of the confrontation was overwhelming. Spencer used his jiu-jitsu skills, leveraging his body to gain control. He maneuvered, shifting his weight to pin Khazzani's arm. Every movement was precise, calculated, designed to neutralize the threat. He felt a surge of adrenaline-fueled strength, his focus razor-sharp. Anthony and Alec struggled alongside him, their bodies a tangle of limbs and determination. They could feel the weight of the gun, the danger it represented. The chaos around them was a blur, their world narrowed to this life-or-death struggle. The shouts of panicked passengers faded into the background, their minds singularly focused on the task at hand. Finally, with a coordinated effort, they managed to wrench the rifle from Khazzani's grip. The weapon clattered to the floor, a heavy and ominous sound. But the struggle was far from over. Khazzani pulled a box cutter from his pocket, slashing wildly. Spencer felt a sharp pain as the blade grazed his hand, but he didn't let go. The stakes were too high. With a final burst of energy, Spencer and Alec pinned Khazzani to the floor, Anthony securing the box cutter. Their breaths came in ragged gasps, their bodies bruised and bloodied, but the immediate threat was neutralized. The car was silent except for the labored breathing of the combatants and the hushed murmurs of the passengers. The confrontation, though brief, had been a test of their courage and resolve. They had faced the threat head-on, driven by a sense of duty and the unbreakable bond of friendship. As they secured Khazzani, ensuring he could cause no further harm, they felt a wave of relief and disbelief. They had acted without hesitation, their instincts and training guiding them through the ordeal. As the adrenaline began to fade, the reality of what they had just done settled over them. They exchanged glances, a silent acknowledgement of their shared bravery and the gravity of the situation. They had confronted danger head-on, risking their lives to protect others. In that moment, they were no longer just friends on a European vacation. They were heroes. Chapter 5. The Struggle. The initial impact of Spencer Stone tackling Ayoub El Khazzani sent shockwaves through the train car. Passengers nearby screamed and scrambled to get out of the way as the two men hit the floor. Spencer's body was a blur of motion, every muscle and instinct honed by his military training. He knew this was a fight for survival, both his and everyone else's on the train. As Spencer collided with Khazzani, he felt the hard edge of the rifle against his ribs. He quickly moved to pin the gunman's arm, his mind focused on neutralizing the weapon. Khazzani fought back with a ferocity born of desperation, his movements wild and unpredictable. Spencer tightened his grip, using his body weight to keep Khazzani down. The gunman's free hand flailed, reaching for the pistol at his waist. Spencer's training in jiu-jitsu became crucial. He shifted his position, using leverage to twist Khazzani's arm behind his back. The techniques he had practiced so many times in controlled environments now played out in this chaotic, high-stakes reality. He applied a joint lock, forcing Khazzani's arm into an unnatural angle, but the gunman continued to struggle, adrenaline driving him to fight through the pain. Anthony Sadler, seeing Spencer grappling with Khazzani, rushed forward. He grabbed the rifle, his fingers fumbling for a secure grip. The weight of the weapon surprised him, but he tightened his hold, pulling with all his strength. Khazzani's grip was like iron, but Anthony's determination fueled his efforts. He could feel his heart pounding, the sound of his own breathing loud in his ears. Alex Scarlatos joined the fray, his military experience guiding his actions. He moved quickly, assessing the situation with a soldier's eye. He saw the danger of the pistol in Khazzani's waistband and lunged for it. Khazzani, sensing the new threat, lashed out with his free hand, a box cutter glinting in the overhead lights. The blade sliced through the air, catching Alec on the arm. Pain flared, but Alec ignored it, focusing instead on disarming the attacker. The struggle was intense, a chaotic dance of bodies and weapons. Spencer maintained his hold, his muscles straining as he kept Khazzani pinned. He could feel the burn in his arms and legs, the physical toll of the fight. He shifted his position again, using his legs to immobilize Khazzani's lower body. Every movement was calculated, a blend of strength and technique. Anthony and Alec worked together, their coordination born of years of friendship and trust. Anthony managed to wrest the rifle free, throwing it aside where it clattered out of reach. Alec, despite the searing pain in his arm, focused on the pistol. He pried it from Khazzani's waistband, tossing it to the other side of the aisle. With the immediate threat of the firearms removed, their attention turned to the box cutter still clutched in Khazzani's hand. The emotional intensity of the moment was overwhelming. Spencer's mind raced with thoughts of his family, his friends, and the passengers whose lives hung in the balance. Fear and determination warred within him, each breath a reminder of the stakes. The surreal nature of the experience made everything feel both hyper-real and dreamlike. Khazzani's eyes were wild, a mix of rage and desperation. He slashed at anything within reach, the box cutter a dangerous, erratic weapon. Spencer maneuvered to avoid the blade, using his legs to trap Khazzani's arm. Alec moved in, ignoring the pain in his own arm to help restrain the gunman. Together, they managed to pin Khazzani's wrist to the floor, the box cutter falling from his grasp with a final, desperate clatter. With Khazzani's weapons out of reach and his body pinned, the struggle began to wind down. Spencer, Anthony, and Alec maintained their hold, their breaths coming in ragged gasps. The realization of what they had done began to sink in. The immediate danger had been neutralized, but the emotional aftermath loomed large. Passengers around them began to emerge from their hiding places, faces etched with a mix of fear and awe. Some rushed to offer help, others remained frozen in shock. The train, which had once been filled with the hum of quiet conversations and the rhythmic clatter of tracks, now felt eerily silent. Spencer's mind buzzed with the intensity of the fight, the adrenaline slowly ebbing away. He exchanged a glance with Anthony and Alec, a silent acknowledgement of their shared bravery. They had faced down a deadly threat, relying on their training, their instincts, and their unbreakable bond. The physical toll was evident: bruises, cuts, and the sting of exhaustion, but the emotional and psychological impact was just beginning to unfold. The surreal nature of their actions, the realization that they had confronted and subdued a heavily armed attacker, left them in a state of stunned disbelief. They had acted without hesitation, driven by a deep-seated sense of duty and the desire to protect their fellow passengers. As the train continued its journey towards Paris, the three friends sat amidst the aftermath of their struggle, their minds replaying the harrowing moments over and over. The fight had been fierce, a testament to their courage and resilience. They had faced their fears head-on, emerging as heroes in the truest sense of the word. Chapter 6. First Aid and Survival. The immediate threat neutralized, Spencer Stone's training once again took over, this time shifting from combat mode to medical response. The sound of passengers' cries and the metallic clank of discarded weapons faded into the background as he zeroed in on Mark Mugalian, who lay bleeding on the floor. Spencer quickly assessed the situation. Mark had been shot in the neck, and the wound was severe. Blood pulsed from the injury, bright and alarming against Mark's pale skin. Every second was crucial. Spencer knelt beside him, his hands steady despite the adrenaline still coursing through his veins. "Stay with me, Mark," he urged, his voice calm but commanding. He tore a piece of cloth from a nearby seat cover and pressed it firmly against the wound to staunch the bleeding. The pressure needed to be constant and firm. Spencer's Air Force training had included basic battlefield first aid, and those lessons now guided his actions with precision. He felt for a pulse, relieved to find one, but knew that Mark's condition was critical. "Anthony, I need more fabric, anything to use as bandages," Spencer called out. Anthony, still shaking from the confrontation, snapped into action. He tore strips from his shirt and handed them to Spencer, who used them to reinforce the pressure on Mark's neck. Alec, meanwhile, kept an eye on Khazzani, ensuring the gunman was securely restrained and posed no further threat. The atmosphere in the train car was electric with tension. Passengers who had been hiding or cowering now emerged, their faces a mix of fear, shock, and curiosity. Some rushed forward to help, offering their own clothing for makeshift bandages, while others stood back, their expressions dazed and unbelieving. An elderly woman clutched her rosary, whispering prayers under her breath. A young couple huddled together, their eyes wide with fear. A businessman, his suit rumpled and tie askew, approached Spencer. "What can I do to help?" he asked, his voice shaky but determined. "Hold this," Spencer instructed, directing the man to apply pressure to another part of the wound while he checked Mark's airway. Ensuring Mark could breathe was paramount. Spencer tilted Mark's head slightly to maintain an open airway, all the while keeping an eye on the blood flow. Minutes felt like hours. The train had come to an emergency stop, and the sounds of distant sirens began to filter through the chaos. Spencer focused on keeping Mark conscious. "Stay with me, Mark. Help is on the way," he repeated, his voice a lifeline in the storm of confusion and fear. The passengers' reactions varied widely, adding layers of depth to the unfolding drama. Some took charge, offering assistance and calming others, while a few remained paralyzed by shock. A mother shielded her children's eyes, her own tears streaming silently down her face. Two college students exchanged stunned glances, their backpacks still slung over their shoulders, as if they had just been interrupted in the middle of a casual conversation. As the minutes ticked by, the urgency only increased. Spencer felt the weight of responsibility pressing down on him. Mark's breathing was shallow, and his pulse weakened despite their efforts. Spencer maintained a steady stream of reassurances both for Mark and himself. "You're doing great, Mark. Just hold on a little longer." The sound of footsteps echoed through the car as first responders finally arrived, their presence bringing a wave of relief. French paramedics, faces set in professional determination, took over, quickly assessing Mark's condition and preparing him for transport. Spencer briefed them on the measures he had taken, his voice steady despite the emotional toll of the situation. With Mark now in capable hands, Spencer, Anthony, and Alec could take a moment to breathe. The paramedics worked swiftly, their practiced efficiency a stark contrast to the chaos of moments before. They loaded Mark onto a stretcher, securing him for transport to the nearest hospital. As the paramedics moved Mark out of the train, The three friends stood together, their bodies and minds exhausted, but their spirits resolute. They had faced unimaginable danger and had come through, not just as survivors, but as protectors of others. The weight of what had just transpired began to settle in, the reality of their actions a mix of pride and sobering reflection. Passengers who had witnessed their bravery approached, offering thanks and words of gratitude. A young girl handed Spencer a small crumpled flower she had been clutching. "Thank you," she whispered, her eyes wide with admiration. Spencer accepted the flower with a gentle smile, touched by the gesture. The scene inside the train car was a testament to human resilience and the instinct to help others in times of crisis. Amid the fear and chaos, there had been moments of profound bravery and compassion. The passengers, though shaken, had come together in the face of terror, their collective strength a powerful reminder of the goodness that can emerge even in the darkest of times. As they waited for further instructions from the authorities, Spencer, Anthony, and Alec reflected on the surreal nature of the experience. They had acted without hesitation, driven by a deep-seated sense of duty and the bonds of friendship. In those tense, adrenaline-fueled moments, they had become heroes, their courage and resolve shining through. The journey towards recovery and understanding what they had just endured was only beginning. The events on the Thaleys train had changed them forever, leaving an indelible mark on their lives and the lives of those around them. As the train resumed its journey towards Paris, the story of their heroism had only just begun to unfold. Chapter 7. Heroes in Khakis. The arrival of French authorities and medical personnel brought a wave of relief and a fresh surge of activity. The wail of sirens, which had grown steadily louder, now filled the air as police cars and ambulances pulled up alongside the halted train. Uniformed officers and paramedics poured into the train car, their presence both comforting and chaotic. For Spencer, Anthony, and Alec, the sight of the authorities signaled that the immediate danger was over. The adrenaline that had carried them through the confrontation and the aftermath began to ebb, leaving behind a profound exhaustion. The paramedics moved swiftly, their faces set with professional determination as they assessed the situation and attended to the injured. Spencer's arm throbbed from where the box cutter had grazed him, a sharp reminder of the close-quarters struggle. A paramedic approached, her expression a mix of concern and efficiency. "Let me see your arm," she instructed, guiding Spencer to a seat. She cleaned the wound with antiseptic, the sting sharp but necessary, and wrapped it with a clean bandage. "You're lucky it wasn't deeper," she remarked, her eyes meeting his with a look of respect. Anthony, too, was nursing cuts and bruises from the fierce encounter. He winced as another paramedic tended to his injuries, cleaning and bandaging the wounds. The reality of what they had just experienced began to sink in, each throb of pain a reminder of the life-and-death struggle they had endured. Alec's arm bore a deeper cut from Khazzani's box cutter. The paramedic treating him shook his head slightly as he worked. "You should get stitches for this," he said, his tone leaving no room for argument. Alec nodded, the pain a constant but dull throb. He watched as the paramedic applied a temporary dressing, knowing that a hospital visit was inevitable. As the medical personnel worked, the train car buzzed with activity. Police officers interviewed passengers, their questions focused and precise. The sounds of French and English mingled, a chorus of voices recounting the chaos and bravery that had unfolded. The presence of the authorities brought a semblance of order, but the emotional toll was evident on every face. The immediate aftermath was a whirlwind. News of the thwarted attack had already begun to spread, and the media was quick to descend upon the scene. Journalists and cameramen jockeyed for position, eager to capture the story of heroism and courage. The sudden shift from crisis to media spotlight was jarring for Spencer, Anthony, and Alec. One moment they had been fighting for their lives. The next, they were thrust into the public eye, their actions hailed as extraordinary. Reporters bombarded them with questions, their cameras flashing, capturing every moment. "How did you manage to stop the attacker?" one journalist asked, her voice tinged with awe. Spencer, still processing the events himself, tried to find the words. "We just did what we had to do," he said simply, his tone humble. "We couldn't stand by and let people get hurt." Anthony and Alec echoed similar sentiments, their words a mixture of modesty and determination. They had acted on instinct, driven by a deep sense of duty and friendship. The reality of their heroism was still sinking in, each interview and photograph a surreal reminder of what they had accomplished. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows over the scene, the train was finally cleared to continue its journey to Paris. Passengers, though shaken, were grateful for the bravery of the 3 Americans who had saved them. The atmosphere on the train was one of quiet reflection and gratitude. Upon arrival in Paris, the heroes in khakis were greeted with applause and cheers. Their injuries, now cleaned and bandaged, were a testament to the battle they had fought. Medical personnel escorted them to awaiting ambulances, ready to take them to the hospital for further treatment. The media continued to swarm, capturing every moment of their arrival. In the hospital, doctors and nurses treated their wounds with care and respect. Spencer received a more thorough examination of his arm, the shallow cut cleaned and properly dressed. Anthony's cuts were treated with antiseptic and bandages, and Alec's deeper wound was stitched with precise, practiced hands. Each man bore the physical marks of their heroism, but the emotional and psychological scars were still fresh and raw. As they lay in their hospital beds, the enormity of their actions began to sink in. They had faced down a terrorist, saved countless lives, and emerged as heroes. The sudden shift from ordinary tourists to celebrated saviors was overwhelming. They exchanged glances, their friendship a steady anchor in the midst of the storm. The next few days were a blur of interviews, medical checkups, and official statements. French President François Hollande announced that the 3 Americans, along with Marc Mougalian and the other brave passengers, would be awarded the Legion of Honor, France's highest decoration. The news brought a mixture of pride and disbelief. They had acted on instinct, never expecting such recognition. The media attention was relentless, each interview and appearance adding to the narrative of their heroism. Spencer, Anthony, and Alec spoke candidly about their experiences, their words resonating with humility and a shared sense of duty. They emphasized the importance of their friendship, the bond that had given them the strength to act. In the midst of the media frenzy, there were moments of quiet reflection. Spencer found himself thinking about the passengers they had saved, the lives that had been spared because of their actions. Anthony reflected on the fragility of life and the unexpected paths it could take. Alec, his arm still aching from the stitches, thought about his time in Afghanistan and the unpredictability of violence. The recognition and accolades were humbling, but the heroes in khakis knew that their journey was far from over. They had faced a moment of unimaginable terror and emerged stronger, their bond deepened by the shared experience. As they prepared to return to their normal lives, they carried with them the knowledge that courage and heroism could be found in the most unexpected places, and that the actions of a few could change the lives of many. Chapter 8: Recognition and Reflection. The grand hall of the Élysée Palace was filled with an air of solemnity and respect, as dignitaries, journalists, and guests gathered for the ceremony. The golden chandeliers cast a warm glow over the assembled crowd, their light reflecting off the polished marble floors and ornate decorations. The French flag stood proudly at the front of the room, a symbol of the nation's gratitude and recognition. President François Hollande stood at the podium, his expression one of solemn respect. Before him stood Spencer Stone, Anthony Sadler, Alex Garlatos, and Mark Mugalian, each dressed in formal attire, their faces a mixture of pride and humility. The significance of the moment was not lost on them. The Legion of Honor, France's highest decoration, was a testament to their bravery and selflessness. As President Hollande began his speech, the room fell silent. He spoke eloquently about the events on the Thaleys train, detailing the courage and quick thinking that had saved countless lives. "These men," he said, his voice resonating with emotion, "acted with incredible bravery and determination. They risked their own lives to save others, embodying the true spirit of heroism." One by one, the heroes were called forward. As they received their medals, the weight of the moment was palpable. Spencer felt a surge of emotion as the red ribbon was draped around his neck, the medal resting against his chest. The applause that followed was thunderous, a wave of gratitude and admiration washing over him. Anthony's thoughts were a whirlwind of emotions. The ceremony felt surreal, the culmination of events that had begun in a flash of terror and chaos. As he received his medal, he thought about the lives they had saved, the people who were able to go home to their families because of their actions. Alex stood tall as President Hollande placed the medal around his neck. He felt a deep sense of pride, not just in their collective bravery, but in the bond that had carried them through. The recognition was humbling, a stark contrast to the chaos of the train. Mark Mugalian, the passenger who had been critically injured while trying to disarm Khazzani, stood beside them. His journey had been one of pain and recovery, but the recognition brought a sense of closure. As he received his medal, he thought about the fear and determination that had driven him to act. The ceremony concluded with a standing ovation, the applause echoing through the grand hall. As they left the Élysée Palace, the weight of the medals around their necks was a constant reminder of their actions and the lives they had touched. In the days that followed, each of the heroes had time to reflect on the events and their impact. Spencer found himself replaying the moment he decided to run towards the gunman. "I didn't have time to think," he recalled in an interview. "I just knew I had to do something. The training kicked in, and I acted." The realization that his instincts had saved lives brought both pride and a sense of responsibility. Anthony's reflections were tinged with thoughts of fate and purpose. "It's crazy to think how close we came to losing everything," he mused. But I think it also shows that ordinary people can do extraordinary things when it matters most. The experience had given him a renewed sense of direction, a desire to inspire others through his story. Alec's thoughts often drifted to his time in Afghanistan. The events on the train had brought back memories of combat, but also a new understanding of courage. "It's different when it's civilians," he said. "You realize how fragile life is, and how important it is to act when you can make a difference." The bond with Spencer and Anthony had deepened, their friendship now a testament to their shared ordeal. Mark Mugalian's recovery had been arduous, but the recognition brought a sense of validation. "I didn't think. I just acted," he reflected. "I knew I couldn't let him hurt anyone else." The events had changed him, instilling a deeper appreciation for life and the courage of those who had come to his aid. The media coverage was extensive, the story of the heroes in khakis captivating audiences around the world. News outlets hailed their bravery, their faces appearing on television screens and newspaper front pages. Interviews and appearances became a regular part of their lives, each opportunity a chance to share their story. Public response was overwhelmingly positive. Messages of gratitude poured in from around the globe, people inspired by their actions. Social media buzzed with hashtags celebrating their heroism, and the story of the Thaleys train attack became a symbol of courage in the face of terror. However, the spotlight also brought challenges. There were those who questioned the narrative, skeptics who doubted the authenticity of their heroism. Some criticized the media frenzy, arguing that it overshadowed other important stories. The heroes navigated these waters with grace, understanding that public scrutiny was part of the aftermath. Despite the mixed reactions, the core of their story remained unchanged. They had acted with bravery and selflessness, their actions a testament to the strength of human spirit and the power of friendship. The recognition they received was not just for their heroism on the train, but for the message they carried forward, that ordinary people could make a difference, that courage could be found in the most unexpected places, and that the bonds of friendship could withstand even the greatest tests. As they continued with their lives, the medals they wore were more than just symbols of their bravery. They were reminders of the lives they had touched and the extraordinary potential within each of them. The journey of recognition and reflection had brought them full circle, reinforcing the values that had driven them to act and the profound impact of their actions on the world. Chapter 9: Returning Home. The return journey to the United States was both a relief and a daunting prospect for Spencer, Anthony, and Alec. The flight was long, giving them ample time to reflect on the whirlwind of events that had transpired since the fateful day on the Thaleys train. As they descended towards Sacramento International Airport, a mix of emotions churned within them: excitement, anxiety, and a sense of profound change. The airport terminal was a sea of faces and flashing cameras. Reporters, family members, friends and strangers alike had gathered to welcome the heroes home. As Spencer, Anthony and Alec walked through the gate, they were met with cheers and applause. Banners proclaiming "Welcome Home Heroes" were held high, and the atmosphere was electric with gratitude and admiration. Spencer's parents were the first to embrace him, their faces wet with tears of pride and relief. His mother's arms wrapped tightly around him, conveying all the words she couldn't say. His father, normally stoic, clapped him on the back, his eyes shining with emotion. For Spencer, the embrace was grounding, a reminder of the love and support that had always been his anchor. Anthony's return was similarly emotional. His parents, siblings and friends enveloped him in a collective hug. His father's voice broke as he said, "We're so proud of you, son." Anthony's mother couldn't stop crying, her joy and relief palpable. The warmth of their welcome was a balm to his soul, soothing the lingering anxiety from the ordeal. Alec's homecoming was marked by the presence of his family and close friends. His mother hugged him tightly, whispering, "I was so scared for you." His friends, many of whom had served with him, greeted him with a mix of humor and heartfelt emotion. The camaraderie they shared was strengthened by the new chapter in Alec's story of service and heroism. As the initial excitement of their return home began to settle, the heroes found themselves facing a new reality. The events on the train had left an indelible mark, not just on them, but on their relationships and daily lives. Each of them experienced changes that went beyond the physical and emotional scars. Spencer found that his relationship with his family had deepened. The shared fear and relief had brought them closer, fostering an environment of open communication and mutual support. However, the experience also introduced new dynamics. Friends and acquaintances treated him differently, some with awe and others with a certain distance, unsure how to relate to his newfound fame. Anthony's social circle expanded dramatically. Invitations to speak at schools, community events, and media interviews poured in. He became a local hero, someone who embodied courage and selflessness. While he enjoyed the recognition and the platform it provided, he also struggled with the constant attention. The normalcy of his previous life seemed distant, replaced by a series of public appearances and speaking engagements. Alec's life took a similar turn. His story resonated with many, particularly within the military community. He was invited to speak at veteran events, sharing his experience and the lessons he had learned. The recognition was gratifying, but it also brought pressure. Alec felt the weight of expectations, the need to live up to the hero persona that had been thrust upon him. Adjusting to their newfound fame and recognition presented both challenges and perks. They were honored at various events, received numerous accolades, and were even invited to appear on popular talk shows. The public's admiration opened doors to new opportunities, but it also demanded a level of resilience and adaptability. Spencer, always driven by a sense of purpose, found a way to channel his experiences into something positive. He began working with veterans organizations, advocating for better mental health support and sharing his story as a source of inspiration. The transition wasn't easy, but it gave him a sense of fulfillment and direction. Anthony embraced his role as a motivational speaker. His natural charisma and the compelling nature of his story made him a sought-after figure at schools, conferences, and community centers. He used his platform to talk about courage, resilience, and the power of ordinary people to make a difference. Despite the hectic schedule, he found joy in connecting with others and inspiring them through his journey. Alec's path led him to further his education and continue his service in a different capacity. He enrolled in college, using his experience to advocate for veterans and promote understanding of the challenges they face. His story became a bridge, connecting civilians with the realities of military life and the extraordinary courage required in moments of crisis. The challenges of sudden fame included maintaining privacy and navigating the constant scrutiny. Simple activities like going to the grocery store or having dinner with family became complicated by the recognition. There were moments when the weight of their heroism felt overwhelming, the expectations and the public's gaze a constant presence. Yet, amidst the challenges, there were profound moments of connection and gratitude. Letters from people around the world poured in, many sharing how the heroes' actions had inspired them. These messages were a source of strength, a reminder that their bravery had made a tangible impact. Returning home was both an end and a beginning. Spencer, Anthony, and Alec faced the ripples of their actions with courage and grace. Their lives forever changed by the events on the Thaleys train. They had become symbols of heroism, their stories a testament to the extraordinary potential within ordinary people. As they navigated their new reality, they carried with them the knowledge that their actions had touched countless lives, a legacy of bravery and friendship that would endure. Chapter 10. Moving Forward. The long-term effects of the Thaleys train attack rippled through the lives of Spencer, Anthony, and Alec, shaping their futures in profound ways. Each of them found that the event had significantly influenced their careers and aspirations, setting them on paths they might not have otherwise taken. Spencer Stone felt a renewed sense of purpose in his life. His military training had prepared him for combat, but the events on the train showed him the broader impact he could have. Spencer decided to transition out of active duty and focus on advocacy work for veterans. He joined several organizations dedicated to supporting veterans' mental health and reintegration into civilian life. His first-hand experience gave him a powerful voice, and he traveled the country speaking about resilience, bravery, and the importance of mental health support. Spencer also pursued a degree in psychology, aiming to deepen his understanding and ability to help others. Anthony Sadler embraced his role as a motivational speaker and author. He wrote a book about their experience, detailing not just the events on the train, but the journey of friendship and personal growth that had led them there. The book became a bestseller, resonating with readers who saw in Anthony's story a reflection of their own potential for courage. His speaking engagements took him to schools, conferences, and corporate events, where he inspired audiences with his message of bravery and the power of ordinary individuals to make extraordinary differences. Anthony's charisma and genuine passion made him a beloved figure in the motivational circuit. Alex Scarlatos returned to school using the GI Bill to further his education. He studied political science, driven by a newfound interest in public service and policy. Alex's experience on the train had given him a unique perspective on security and public safety, and he aspired to work in government, advocating for policies that supported veterans and enhanced public safety measures. He also remained active in the National Guard, finding fulfillment in continuing his service while pursuing his studies. Alec's journey was marked by a commitment to making a difference on a larger scale, influenced by the heroism he had demonstrated on the train. The bonds between Spencer, Anthony, and Alec deepened in the aftermath of the attack. Their shared experience created an unbreakable connection, one that provided ongoing support and camaraderie. They frequently met up, whether for casual dinners, joint speaking engagements, or just to catch up and offer mutual support. Their friendship was a source of strength, a reminder of the power of unity and shared purpose. They also continued to stay in touch with Mark Mugalian, whose recovery was a testament to his resilience. Mark became an honorary member of their tight-knit group, his bravery and recovery journey celebrated alongside their own. The shared ordeal had forged a unique bond, and they supported each other through the highs and lows that followed. Reflections on heroism, bravery, and the randomness of fate became a common theme in their conversations and public speeches. Spencer often spoke about how ordinary moments could turn into tests of character. "You never know when you'll be called to act," he would say. "But when you are, it's the bonds you've formed and the strength you've built that see you through." Anthony's reflections were philosophical. "Heroism isn't about being fearless," he would tell audiences. "It's about acting despite your fears. It's about the choices we make in the face of uncertainty and danger." He emphasized that everyone had the potential for heroism within them, a message that resonated deeply with those who heard him speak. Alec, drawing from his military experience and the events on the train, often spoke about the randomness of fate and the importance of preparedness. "None of us expected to be in that situation," he would say. "But life is unpredictable, and we have to be ready to step up when needed. It's about being prepared, both mentally and physically, to face whatever comes our way." Their experiences led to a deeper understanding of the nature of heroism. They recognized that heroism was not just about grand gestures, but also about the everyday acts of courage and kindness that often went unnoticed. They spoke about the passengers on the train who had shown bravery in their own ways, offering assistance and support during the chaos. The randomness of fate was a recurring theme in their reflections. They often marveled at the series of events that had brought them to that moment on the Thaleys train. "It's like everything in our lives led up to that point," Anthony once said. "Our friendship, our experiences, it all prepared us for that moment." This realization brought a sense of awe and gratitude for the paths their lives had taken. As they moved forward, Spencer, Anthony, and Alec carried with them the lessons learned from their ordeal. Their lives were a testament to the extraordinary potential within ordinary people, and their actions continued to inspire others. They understood that heroism could manifest in many forms, from the dramatic to the everyday, and that each act of courage contributed to a greater tapestry of human resilience and goodness. Their journey was far from over, but the events on the Thaleys train had set them on paths filled with purpose and meaning. They remained committed to making a positive impact, driven by the knowledge that even in the face of danger, the human spirit could shine brightly, transforming ordinary individuals into heroes. Epilogue: Legacy of Courage. Brief updates on the main characters' lives a few years later. A few years had passed since the fateful day on the Thaleys train, and life had moved forward for Spencer, Anthony, Alec, and Mark. Each of them had continued to build on the foundation of their heroism, forging paths that were both fulfilling and impactful. Spencer Stone had completed his degree in psychology and was now a prominent advocate for veterans' mental health. He worked with several non-profit organizations, providing counseling and support to those transitioning from military to civilian life. Spencer had also written a book on resilience and recovery, sharing his insights and experiences to help others overcome their own challenges. He often spoke at conferences and workshops, his story a beacon of hope for many. Anthony Sadler had become a well-known motivational speaker and author. His book, detailing their experience on the train and the journey of friendship and bravery, remained a bestseller. Anthony traveled extensively, delivering speeches that inspired audiences of all ages. He also started a foundation focused on empowering young people, encouraging them to find their own paths to heroism through everyday acts of kindness and courage. Alex Skarlatos had successfully completed his degree in political science and was now serving in a public office, having been elected to his local government. His work focused on veterans' affairs and public safety, driven by his commitment to making a difference in his community. Alex's leadership and dedication had earned him respect and admiration, and he continued to serve in the National Guard, balancing his duties with his political career. Mark Mugalian had fully recovered from his injuries and returned to his passion for teaching and music. He continued to teach at the university and had released an album inspired by his experiences. Mark's journey of recovery and his contributions to the arts and education were celebrated by those who knew his story. He remained close with Spencer, Anthony, and Alec, their bond as strong as ever. The continuing impact of their actions on their lives and others. The legacy of their heroism extended far beyond their own lives. The story of their bravery on the Thaleys train continued to inspire countless people around the world. Schools incorporated their story into lessons on courage and citizenship, and their actions were frequently cited in discussions about the power of individual bravery in the face of danger. Spencer's work with veterans had led to the establishment of new support programs and increased awareness about the importance of mental health care for those who had served. His advocacy had a ripple effect, influencing policies and bringing much-needed resources to the veteran community. Anthony's foundation had launched numerous initiatives aimed at empowering young people. Through scholarships, mentorship programs, and community service projects, the foundation helped thousands of young individuals realize their potential and make positive contributions to their communities. Anthony's message of finding heroism in everyday actions resonated deeply, inspiring a new generation to act with courage and compassion. Alec's role in government allowed him to enact meaningful changes that improved the lives of veterans and enhanced public safety. His first-hand experience and dedication to service brought a unique perspective to his work, leading to initiatives that addressed the needs of his community effectively. Alec's leadership continued to inspire trust and respect, both within his community and beyond. Mark's recovery and his return to teaching and music became a story of resilience and the healing power of art. His music, infused with themes of bravery and recovery, touched the hearts of many, offering solace and inspiration. Mark's journey demonstrated the importance of creative expression in overcoming trauma and building a fulfilling life. Final reflections on the nature of heroism and the extraordinary potential within ordinary people. As they reflected on their journey, Spencer, Anthony, Alec, and Mark often spoke about the nature of heroism and the extraordinary potential within ordinary people. They had learned that heroism wasn't about being fearless or invincible. It was about making the choice to act in the face of fear, to stand up for what was right, even when it was difficult. Spencer's reflections often focused on resilience and the importance of mental strength. Heroism is about more than just one moment, he would say. It's about the ongoing commitment to overcome challenges and support others through theirs. It's about finding strength within yourself and using it to make a difference. Anthony's message centered on the idea that everyone had the capacity for heroism. We all have moments where we can choose to be brave, he would tell his audiences. It's not about the size of the action, but the intention behind it. Every act of kindness, every moment of courage, contributes to a better world. Alec's thoughts were often on the importance of preparedness and community. Being ready to act is crucial, but so is the support we give and receive from those around us, he said. Heroism is often a collective effort, built on the strength of our relationships and our willingness to support one another. Mark's reflections highlighted the healing power of creativity and resilience. Our experiences shape us, but they don't define us, he would say. We have the power to transform our pain into something beautiful, to use our stories to inspire and uplift others. The legacy of their heroism was a testament to the extraordinary potential within each person. Their actions on the Thaleys train had shown that ordinary individuals could indeed perform extraordinary deeds when called upon. They left readers with a powerful message. Heroism isn't reserved for the few. It lies within each of us, waiting for the moment when we choose to let it shine. Their story, woven with courage, friendship, and resilience, stood as a lasting reminder that even in the face of danger, the human spirit could rise to incredible heights. The legacy of courage they created would continue to inspire and remind the world that in every person lies the potential for heroism, ready to emerge when needed most. A tale of heroism.